Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life with Sterling Fox on AM 650.
Welcome back to Boomer Life, and on this episode of the program, we're talking boating with our guests Michael Short and Morley Monroe from Boating BC. Michael and Morley are both members of the board of directors. So, gentlemen, here we are on Boomer Life, the radio program. So, a typical boomer might be a person who is in their later working years, perhaps approaching retirement, and contemplating all sorts of lifestyle options. And suppose this isn't a typical Vancouver person. Suppose it's someone who's just watched from afar, from the shore, all those folks out there, all those years having fun on the water. And one of the bucket list things that this person has on his retirement years is to finally get a boat, or at least in some way get into the boating game. Now, Michael is the youngest member of our trio, so I'll start with the actual certifiable boomer. Morley and I are boomers. Morley, is that 65-year-old imminent retiree just too darn late to get into the boating game? How's the timing?
I think when it comes to baby boomers, 65 years of age is not an old age anymore.
True.
And a lot of them are embarking on all kinds of new experiences.
Yeah.
We're a much younger retired population in mentality, and physically we're in much better shape as
Yes.
well. So that boating is certainly something that a retired person can get into, because they're normally active people anyway. And it's certainly not beyond learning a few of the fundamentals of boating and getting involved. We've seen retired people that have never had boats before in their life get totally captivated with boating, and they take all the courses and they learn everything, and they go on cruises as far as Alaska and do a lot of local boating and get into all aspects of boating and take their immediate family, take their grandkids with them, so that there's a full life in boating for retired people.
Interesting. Now, Michael Short from Vancouver Marina, you were mentioning during the break that down at your place, boomers are all over. It's their hangout for a lot of them.
It is a hangout. It's the lifestyle, and it's not always about untying the boat and going boating every day. A lot of the times, it's just about coming down to the boat, and whether it's installing a new piece of gear or doing some polishing and waxing on the boat. It's a home away from home.
Right.
Yeah.
And Morley, that's an interesting, because you mentioned your grandkids, and most boats of any size, especially if you're going to take them out on the salt water, most boats have some kind of overnight capacity. You can do with a boat what you would do in an RV, except we have a little more freedom.
Yes, this allows grandparents, when they get the kids for a weekend, or allow their kids to have the weekend off, to be able to take, a couple grandchildren for the whole weekend, overnight on board the boat, or take the grandchild out for the afternoon and just fish, or let them wander around the docks, obviously with a life jacket on.
Sure.
And it gives the grandparents a chance to bond with their grandkids, and obviously give their kids the day off.
Well, I was just going to say, and not only, and for those little landlubber squirts, my gosh, it's just fantasy land come true to be off with grandma and grandpa for a few days, but on the water having all sorts of fabulous adventures. That's remarkable stuff.
Young kids automatically glue to the water. Very few kids have I seen where they actually have a fright for it.
Right.
If they're brought up in the proper culture of the water, like obviously not thrown in the water.
Well, that's true. But Mike, you grew up literally from the time you could walk. You learned to walk, part of it on the docks down at your dad's shop.
Exactly. And my best memories are always of us on the boat. I had some folks come into the marina yesterday who've been customers of mine for 20 years, and she was telling me about her 4 grandkids that they have now, and I've seen, I've been when their kids were growing up. Now they've got grandkids.
Okay.
And she said that, one of their youngest grandkids, he's got it all lined up. He says the first thing in his year is Easter, then it's his birthday, and then it's boating season with grandma and grandpa, and then it's Christmas time.
Oh boy!
Right. So it's all comes for kids. Getting this whole getting into the water and bonding with your grandparents is huge.
And Morley, you had a great line when we were having a coffee a few minutes ago before we started the program. You were talking about yellow and white lines, and I would appreciate your repeating that because it says a lot.
The dimension that I see about boating is the freedom aspect of it. Whereas with other recreational vehicles, you're following a white or a yellow line.
Right.
Where once you break free from the marina, there's not a lot of restrictions in boating. Obviously, there's islands that you have to watch out for and other boats, but there's not a lot of that. So there is that sense of freedom of going in every which way, any which way you want to go that particular day. Do you want to go north, south? Do you want to do you want to go fishing? But it's the exhilarating feeling of knowing that you're not being constricted, and it's also a wonderful way of sort of getting rid of the rat race and being totally in a scenic area, almost being at one with nature. So there's a lot of dimensions to boating, whether it's just a bunch of guys getting fishing or a family weekend together, or whether it's a case of one individual just finding a quiet cove and anchoring there and
well, let the world go by for a couple of days.
Being calm, yeah.
That's right. And Mike, you were talking about this earlier too. You said you've got a fuel stop right there under the Burrard Street Bridge, for crying out loud. And you talked about this calmness being on the water presents. You're down there and you're filling up boats as they come in and out, and it's all very calm. Right above you is absolute mayhem, the morning rush hour on the Burrard Street Bridge, and you're a couple hundred feet below on the water. Life is just a whole lot smoother.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
It's a different world. If I'm out there at, I tell people they think I'm crazy because I like getting up early in the morning, but if I'm down there at 6 in the morning on a beautiful sunny morning and you hear the traffic up above you,
right,
but it's just dead calm, and looking out, I look west over the water towards the Gulf Islands. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that.
Right. Guys, is boating affordable or is it ridiculously expensive? A sinkhole for your cash. There's such a spectrum of opinion on this. I thought, okay, got two guys from the directors board of Boating BC in my studio, so why not ask them point blank, is boating affordable? Morley?
Yes, boating is very affordable. I mean, there's many different aspects to boating. I mean, there's canoeing, kayaking,
sure,
sailing. It really depends on what level of boating you want to go to. I mean, if you want to go to a very large boat, yes, for the average person, it would be totally unaffordable.
Right.
But there's entry levels and then mid-size levels. You can just start off with a little fishing boat with an outboard that you can take 4 people out on, or a small sailboat, and you can graduate up to larger boats as you feel more comfortable with your spending patterns.
Right, of course. And Mike, would you agree with that?
That's right. I mean, there's a boat for every budget.
Right.
That's what we like to say. Just from the small rowboat to the large yacht and everything in between. So the best thing to do is to figure out what your needs are and then get talking to some local boat brokers and dealerships and be straightforward as to what your budget is, and they'll find the right boat for you.
Right, and I suppose it's a bit of trial and error too. It's like buying a car. You don't always buy the right car the first time, and so you might buy a little too much boat, Morley, or a little too little boat, and find that first purchase is not quite right. But gee, the lifestyle's pretty good. I just need the right craft to work for me. So you experiment a little.
Well, we see it quite a bit where people will. And older people that are getting into boating will buy a smaller boat and get out on the water, and then all of a sudden they come back and they buy a considerably larger boat.
Right.
And part of it is that they didn't feel that they would be able to commit to it, and all of a sudden they find themselves absolutely loving boating and saying, this is all about us. We have to get a larger boat. We want to expand this recreation a great deal more, and that's exactly what they do.
Interesting. Now, I guess, Mike, in some cases people buy a smallish boat because, well, I think I could probably park that one. Anything bigger than that, and it's going to take me all day to pull it into a slip and find out, oh, come on, it's not that hard at all.
It's just like I always tell people that are having difficulty on their first couple of times is practice makes perfect. Doesn't matter what type of motorized vehicle you're trying out, if it's a car for the first time, or if you're trying to fly an airplane, or you're trying to drive a boat.
Right.
It's all the same. You have to practice. And size, I've seen new boaters get into a large boat and do a great job, and I've seen old boaters get into a small boat and do an awful job. So it's just practice.
Now, you mentioned, you talked earlier about being exposed, because you've been doing this all your life, Mike, about people, by and large, here in British Columbia, being in some way exposed to the water. And that's I think that's a fairly safe statement to make, but not everyone is. And for those people who don't have a lot of exposure to the water, some of them are kind of leery, Maury, about boating because, well, they're not very comfortable on the water, period. And so they just think it's dangerous. Do you think it's dangerous, even for a non-swimmer?
No, because whether you're a swimmer or not a swimmer, you should be wearing a PDF. And there are PDFs that automatically inflate, so that they're not this big, lumbering, cumbersome thing that we would have worn 40 years ago on boats. And at the same time, there's all kinds of safety equipment on boats.
Right.
And there's not a big learning curve to learn how to use a fire extinguisher or a throw rope,
right,
or a bailing bucket, or how to put the PDF on a grandchild or friends aboard the boat.
Right. So we're calling life preservers in 2014 personal flotation devices now,
exactly.
Aren't we? And they're a lot more comfortable, Mike. And Morley's absolutely right. Those big clunky things with the big thick necks that you used to have to wear when we were kids, they were horrible. And they were hot on a sunny day,
They're
too.
A thing of the past.
Yeah.
Mustang makes the one that goes right around your waist. You don't even know it's there.
Right, and that's what the water skiers tend to like,
yeah,
right? The waist belt kind of thing.
Yeah.
But back to the parking, if you don't mind. When a boater is, let's say, getting into the game, however belatedly, and they want to maximize their investment. In other words, I've just spent a fortune, or what I consider to be a fortune of my hard-earned after-tax dollars on this new unit. The last thing I want to do is mash it into somebody's dock. So where do I go to learn how to operate my new boat properly?
I'd say the first place to go is to the local marina that you're planning on mooring your boat at, and talk to the marina manager there. And first of all, ask for some pointers. There might be some things about the marina that the marina manager and the marina staff can let you know about and give you some really good tips. And for some of the new boaters that end up at our place, I've quite often been on the boat and spent hours with customers helping them along in docking their boat. And that would be the first place I would go.
Okay, yeah. Morley, you sell boats to people.
Yes.
That's you've been doing for a long time. Where do you send them when they say, "Okay, well, this is terrific, but I really don't know how to operate this thing. Please help me." Where do you send them?
Well, when we normally sell a boat, we offer rudimentary training on docking,
okay,
where we actually go out with the person and make sure that they're capable.
Put them through their paces.
Put them through their paces and give them some guidance. Now, if they need more guidance, then we provide an actual instructor that would come in and spend 1 or 2 days with them. But it's not a great deal of time that is required for somebody to get a handle on bringing a boat in and out of the dock.
Okay, now guys, just before we take the break, where does the Canadian Power Squadron come into this picture as a teaching organization, Mike?
The CPS provides all kinds of courses that run in most communities around the Vancouver area. A lot of in-class instruction, a lot of navigation and marine safety and rules of the road. The practical side really does come from getting an instructor onto your boat and getting some instruction that way.
Now, from the BoomerLifeBoatingBC.com website, would I be able to link to the Power Squadrons, or at least learn more about how to contact them if I'm a serious new boater and really want to get all the rules of the road, so to speak, organized? A lot of people will do that over the winter time, don't they, too? So the decks are clear for action in the summer.
That's right. Courses run all year round. The best time is right in the middle of the winter time. Go to take the local courses. I can't recall if it is on our website or not, but it's an easy Google search.
Yeah.
Canadian Power Squadrons, and you'll find the one that's in your area, and it's a great place to start.
Our guests are Michael Short and Morley Monroe, both members of the board of directors of Boating BC, and you can check their website out at will. It's boatingbc.com. Anyone would want to do that right now, because we need to take the following break here on AM 650.
It's all about the baby boomer lifestyle. Boomer Life on AM 650.